What is the weirdest thing you have ever seen a stranger do? I worked at a radio station and was doing a remote at a car dealership. A woman walked up to us wearing a shirt, an apron type skirt, no bag, and men's boots, and nothing else. She had spray paint all around her mouth and kept asking to buy the special car. It freaked me out. I was walking through the town I live in a few years ago, and some guy was walking just ahead of me looking like Hagrid from Harry Potter, in a long brown wool coat and long hair and beard, and he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a plant, with roots and everything, dropping soil everywhere. He looks down, repots the plant in his pocket, and reaches into the other side pocket for his wallet. Since then I've been totally in awe of him, and I often wonder what he was growing in his coat. Someone going through TSA security with 2 Roombas and nothing else. 1 Roomba per bin of course. One time I was on my way to a house inspection and witnessed a man laughing and talking to his chained up bicycle, getting progressively angrier until he started screaming and fighting with said bicycle. It was my first introduction to weird city people. Not my story, but one my dad told me. He goes to work very early in the morning, and one day he had stopped in a Wawa to get some coffee. While he was pouring his coffee, he noticed a guy who had already put coffee in the cup and was now standing in front of the cream dispenser, rotating his entire body like he was hula hooping to mix it together. Watched a guy on the sidewalk below the train platform bend down and casually put a pigeon in his pocket, then walk away. Dinner is served, I guess. A woman got in her car, took a big sip of a smoothie, then proceeded to open her mouth so her small dog could lap up the smoothie in her mouth. Just yesterday I saw a guy walking down the street with a glass of beer. Consumption of alcohol in public spaces is illegal here, for the record. Another stranger walking the opposite direction approaches him. "Hey, give me your beer. Here's some cash. Go buy me a beer and buy yourself one too." First stranger obliges, gives this man his beer, and goes off with the money to buy some beer. By the time he's back, second guy has finished the beer. First guy hands a glass to second guy, and they both go their separate ways. Was pretty amusing. You know those sticks that dog walkers use to throw the tennis ball further? I saw a guy just throw the whole thing with a ball attached. Dude did it twice. I saw an old man in a casino eat 40 or so peppermint candies. He would put 5 in his mouth or so, then swallow, then do it again. These were the ones you would have to suck on for an hour to get anywhere. In my university dorm, one girl ate the same thing every meal. She would eat sliced bread, start at the middle, and eat until the crust, but not eat it. So, she'd have an empty frame of intact bread crust. Then she'd microwave lettuce and eat it. I was on a first date with this guy and we went for a walk in a park. The path could easily fit 3 people wide, probably 4. He's on the outside and I'm in the middle, and there's a lady further ahead, jogging toward us. We start to move over to make sure there's plenty of room for her to jog by. We start moving over more, because she seems to be heading straight for us. As she passes, she swings out her elbow and clocks me in the ribs. I turn to look at her, and she's giving me the dirtiest look. I have no idea who she was, and my date had no clue either. I still wonder if he was telling the truth, but he seemed pretty genuinely concerned and bewildered. Edit. Since so many people are asking, this was Canada. We were walking on the right side of the path and moved over to the right side. She was jogging on her right side of the path and crossed over the middle to hit me. Also, why didn't I fight her? So there's the fight, flight, or freeze reactions. I'm a freeze. This day proved it. The 2 other separate times I've been punched in the face by randos proves it. Want to randomly hit someone with no consequences? Hit me. On the bus once, there was this guy who was shouting at his hand for going numb. He then threatened his hand and told it that if it didn't wake back up, he would smash a bottle of alcohol and stab it with the broken end. I hope the hand filed a report against him. Watched a guy nonchalantly scratch his balls multiple times, then wait a few seconds before pretending to scratch his nose. Did it about 6 times in a row. I mean, I've taken a whiff too, but geez man, it's getting real obvious. At a concert, sitting behind an extremely sunburnt man, I watched him peel off a sheet of his burnt skin and then eat it, as if it was a perfectly normal thing to do. There is a coffee shop located in the building I work in. When it was time to close, midnight, I was told a guy was sleeping in the coffee shop. I woke him up and told him I was going to lock the doors and he had to leave. He stood up and opened a bottle of water and poured it on his jeans on his calf. I said, "What are you doing?" Meaning like, "Hey, you're getting water all over the floor, WTF." And he just politely said, "That's how they work, man," and then left. It still confused the hell out of me. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I've never got that before. And for the people who are asking for a description of the guy, he was mid-40s Canadian tuxedo with a black North Face over it and brown leather boots, kinda chubby. Not exactly a stranger, but once in middle school each of the students in my class was assigned a jug each as part of our gardening class, and I remember this one guy sitting near the end of the room, close to where the jugs were kept, jerking it off into one of the jugs, which, I found out later, belonged to a girl who he had a crush on. Funny thing is that they were in a relationship a year later, but I don't quite know if she knew what he did to that jug. My neighbor and I drove to get dinner at Taco Bell one night. As we waited in line, a person who looked like a junkie sprinted through the parking lot and hit a spinning backflip. The most random ***T ever. We were listening to some random rap song in my car, and we both saw a emaciated looking dude do a perfect backflip after sprinting full speed into it. Could have been a meth addict. I was living in Reno at the time. An old bald man on the train in full lycra who ate a whole 1 kilogram bag of raw potatoes. A guy on the subway once took a handful of loose nuts out of his pocket and offered me some. I declined. I saw a woman on the train file her nails. In between filing each nail she would lick the file clean. I saw a man stop in the middle of a crosswalk, examine 2 leaves he was holding, throw one away with disgust, and eat the other leaf. Saw a man wearing shirt with the word legend printed on the front sit down on a park bench, pull out a wheel of camembert cheese and proceed to eat the entire thing in a few bites, then stand up and be on his way. A true legend. Old guy on the bus taking on his phone, and when he got off his phone it was a bar of soap. When he left the bus he said to the driver, "Thank you, Captain." My first time in LA, I was on a bus with some friends. A guy got on and sat next to me. He then tried to sell me a flat screen TV that his brother had evidently repaired. When I politely declined he got a sour look on his face. Then he started rubbing his dick through his jeans. He didn't whip it out, just closed his eyes and rubbed his dick against his leg through his pants. We got off at the next stop. Had no clue where we were but didn't care. Our Midwest personalities couldn't handle that ***T. IDKY, but a lot of weird ***T happens around me, even though I try and stay away from trouble. Most recent thing was me going out to eat some pho and the guy next to me casually eating noodles with his glasses instead of chopsticks or a fork. Part of me wanted to ask him if he wanted me to get him a pair of chopsticks from the front in case he had a bum knee or something, but like I said, I've learned that when weird ***T happens, to keep quiet and mind my own business. Had to stop the car because a man was crossing the road while walking on all fours. He stopped midway across the road, waved to me, and continued crossing the road. While on all fours he was like he was walking the boot, as if it was an action figure or something. On the expo line in LA, a man sat down across from me. I watched as he pulled out a Ziploc bag of spaghetti and ate it with his hands, getting about half of it into his mouth, the rest all over him and the floor. When he was finished eating, with spaghetti sauce still all over his hands, he then pulled out a bottle of lotion and drenched himself in it. He finishes up by pulling a sock out of his pocket and uses it as a napkin. He throws the empty bag, bottle, and sock on the floor and wanders off the train at the next stop. I've seen more inappropriate things on the train, but that was probably the weirdest. I was on the tube, subway, at like 10 AM on a Tuesday and saw a guy trying to eat his own flip-flop. Just last week I saw a man walking around my work with one shoe I politely pointed out that he was missing a shoe and he also very politely apologized and proceeded to pull out his wallet and attempt to wear it as his other shoe. I saw a older Asian lady vomit in a plastic shopping bag while on a New York City bus. She tied it up, and when we reached the next stop, she flung it out the window, and it splattered all over the sidewalk. Was walking up Buchanan Street in Glasgow and I walked by this guy who was walking as slow as a snail, like almost slow motion. Waiting outside a Greyhound bus station in the middle of the night for my transfer bus. Saw a dude down the street casually jogging toward the station, toward where I was waiting, which was right behind the bumper that keeps a bus from crashing through the building. If a driver hits the gas instead of the brake while parking, imagine a 6-inch thick, bright yellow inverted U that's about waist high. Dude was jogging over, holding his sagging pants up with one hand, not seeming to be in any particular hurry. There was no bus at the station, and ran right into this bumper, mid-thigh level, flipping over it onto his head, popped back up, and continued on his way. No way he couldn't have seen it there. I saw a lady top to bottom lick her phone to clean the screen. I also saw a dude lint roll his head once. A guy in a bar asked if I wanted an oyster. I said yes. He then reached down to a backpack that was full of oysters on ice, shucked a few, pulled out hot sauce from a side pocket. We tapped our shells together and ate some oysters. Back in high school I used to sit in front of this girl during science. She was known to do strange things, talk to someone who wasn't there, start screaming randomly, possible mental illness. So we mostly kept out of her way. Anyway once I happened to turn around. She looked me dead in the eye while scratching her ass. Took her hand out, covered in S***T and blood. Then while still holding my horrified face, licked her hand. Still haunts me till this day. Now I'm sharing my pain. Make sure to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching.